The thoughts, views, and comments expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on Beyond the Headlines are not necessarily those of management, ownership, or production unit of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is a production of ILTV Studios and cannot be reproduced or represented in part or entirety without express written permission of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is the intellectual property of the Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2021.
Coming up tonight, the Ministry of Works putting new measures in place to help mitigate flooding. Even now, there are teams of workmen across the island digging trenches and more. Works Minister Clay Sweeting joins me this evening. Also tonight, the LGBTQ community has dubbed the month of October Pride Month. It's that very issue, and the Christian councils seeming to endorse the march that's scheduled is what angered a local pastor. Well, tonight, both groups are here. It's all straight ahead for you tonight. This is Beyond the Headlines. Good evening. I'm Shanique Miller. It's great to have you along this evening. With persistent rains in New Providence for weeks now, and then Tropical Storm Imelda dumping around 7 inches of rain at the weekend, the streets and neighborhoods of New Providence experienced extreme flooding over most of the island. Up to this hour, teams are working around the capital, digging trenches, clearing drains, and more. Minister of Works, Clay Sweeting, is here to talk about what's happening. In fact, you're looking at some video right now that was captured today. That work continues right now this evening. In fact, as I drove here this evening, I saw teams of workmen along the island, especially along the coastline, trying to, look at that, y'all, just look at that. This has been really the state of many neighborhoods around the capital before Tropical Storm Imelda, and most certainly after Tropical Storm Imelda. Minister Sweeting, good evening to you. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines. It's good to have you here.
Good to be here, Shanique.
You have, listen, there's a lot you have to speak to the Bahamian people about. We are quite happy to see those teams of workmen. I mean, several just all over. You can perhaps tell us how many. But let's just talk about the measures that you've put in place starting from this morning that continue right now to this hour.
Thank you, Shanique. And first of all, I want to thank the team at the Ministry of Works who has worked around the clock, most of them having very little sleep, to ensure that the drainage throughout New Providence was successfully initiated. Now, prior to the storm, throughout New Providence, the civils team ensured that drainage areas as well as culverts were cleaned and maintained to ensure that once the unprecedented storm came, that we were able to not remediate, but mitigate the amount of flooding throughout New Providence.
So you were saying that the clearing of drainages around the capital happened before the storm. So it would have been worse if you didn't if your team didn't tackle that.
So upon coming to the Ministry of Works, we engaged 12 drainage crews that consistently deal with drains throughout New Providence. Now we must understand that over 3,000 drains are in New Providence alone that have to be maintained, cleaned, and all of that. So what we did last week, we targeted the main areas, flood-prone areas, to deal with that. And if you notice throughout New Providence that most of the water is not just subsided, but it's drained out. In Papal Tract alone, we had reports of over 1.5 inches of water there alone. And yesterday, it subsided 8 inches, and today most of the areas in Papal Tract is clear because of the team at the Ministry of Works.
So that's good. The drains are working, the pumping and all the things that you're doing at once are trying to bring some sort of relief to neighborhoods where people were basically trapped or couldn't get to their homes.
Correct.
Let's talk about some of the most at-risk areas that you and your team have investigated and have found to be most at risk for this level of flooding we've seen.
Yeah. So if you look at areas such as Pinewood, these homes were built in a swamp in a lake. And this has been an area of concern for decades. So this isn't yesterday, wasn't last year. This is areas that has been of concern for some time. So if you notice throughout New Providence, we've had pumping trucks to pump water throughout of some of these inner city areas. Up to today, we've pumped around almost 800,000 gallons of water from the inner city alone. That doesn't include the 12 large major pumps that we did on the coastal areas. So, we have remediation in place, but we also have implemented a plan. Over the past year, we've been putting a plan together for areas such as Pinewood, such as Nassau Village, such as Coral Harbor, such as downtown New Providence, that we would put a master plan.
Minister, look at that. I mean, the land really virtually became a lake.
Yeah.
This is really unprecedented that we saw. That's because, of course, the grounds were already oversaturated.
Of course.
So we're looking at some overhead shots and drone shots of exactly how extensive this flooding was. Now let's talk about exactly the mitigation that you're putting in place. I mean, there are new ditches, I guess, for lack of a better descriptive term, being dug by your teams, along with clearing of drains and all the rest of it.
So we have a couple issues. So if you look at Papal Tract, one of the issues there why the water didn't drain as quick as it should is because one of those drains went through a private property that was blocked up. So we had to reopen that drain there. So
you're saying when people develop and go and build, their construction blocks up the drain?
So we have to look at legislation that helps to create policy, that helps to protect persons that build in these areas or obstruct drains as well. But we have more than that. It's more than mitigation. We also have proposals from individuals who have looked at areas such as Pinewood. And we're looking at a permanent fix, such as a master plan. But we're also looking at temporary fixes that would inject water over 500 to 600 feet below the surface. And this would help on a float system that helped to push water out immediately once the water rises a certain level. So we have a proposal for that. We have a master plan that we would propose to Cleveland, Eneas, and Pinewood on Friday evening. That would look at a master plan for Pinewood.
Friday coming?
Friday coming.
You did say that you were going to meet with the residents, so it's set for this Friday.
This Friday coming. And this plan didn't happen overnight because of the storm. So this is a plan that we've been putting together for the past year. That we have consultants and engineers and geologists that has looked at the overall landscape of New Providence, of areas that flood, areas that seems to retain water, and areas that need to have immediate attention to help to mitigate this area. But if you look at the whole landscape of New Providence, areas such as downtown New Providence, so we put downtown on Bay Street, we put a lot of effort there. If you drive downtown now, or even right after the storm, most of the water subsided.
A lot of it has, and quicker than normal.
Exactly.
Because I remember just with heavy rains, especially driving on East Bay Street, listen, you would be afraid driving. I have a panic attack every time I have to drive through flooded area.
You ain't got to have that no more.
Well, thank you so much. But what is being done to ensure that when new communities and new developments are being built and designed, that there is a drainage system as a part of that plan?
Right. And this is part of the new Subdivision Act that is put in place, and it might be frustrating for some who tries to create new subdivisions, but there's a bond in place, there's a proper civil plan that has to be in place and to ensure that these areas drain properly. One of the newer areas that comes to mind is Windsor Lakes in western New Providence. That was a newly developed community. If you look at that area, it drained fairly quickly. And this is because we put extra measures in place, which is more stringent to developers. But when we have significant amount of rainfall, the areas, the drains drain much quickly.
Right.
And if you look at that area, no significant amount of flooding occurred because of the measures that was put in place by the Ministry of Works. So for developers, it might be more stringent. But what it does, it protects
necessary.
homeowners. It's necessary.
Yeah.
It's necessary. So I mean, moving forward, you would see the Ministry of Works put stringent measures in place in regards to building code and other measures to ensure that persons who build are protected against significant natural events such as this.
And even in the inner city, I mean, Nassau has just been allowed to spring up, basically. The inner city, you know, the homes or whatever is businesses are almost right on the road. How will you, in trying to go and develop, whether it's trenches or whether it's drainage, be able to address, because the flooding happened in those inner city areas as well, where there isn't much wiggle room to do much.
Right. So that's the beauty of, so this master plan that we have commissioned a group of engineers to put together, you look at the overall plan of New Providence, not just Pinewood, but other areas. So Pinewood is the most significant community, so that's what we're dealing with first. So you look at the significant plan for the whole of New Providence, and you'll see areas that we need to target, whether it's areas in Seabreeze or areas in Bain and Grantstown.
Right.
So we have overall mapping that shows areas that will flood much quickly than others. So the first act of ensuring that you create solutions is knowing where your problems are. So we've completed that. So that was completed as of 2 weeks ago. So we have.
So this is truly not a knee-jerk reaction thing you're doing.
No.
This is well thought out and structured to address something that is decades old, really.
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, for the most part, you see the work that happens initially, but you don't see the work that happens behind the scenes. So we've been creating an overall map for the whole of New Providence, which we have completed. So we see the areas where water settles, where water saturates, and we are able to put a plan together. And we believe that this plan, which hasn't been done, it's been done for areas, but not the whole of New Providence. So we have completed, so we know where areas will flood significantly, which areas once rain comes, which would flood quicker than others. So we target those areas, and then, I mean, it will take some time, it will take some funding, but we already know, so whoever takes the chair, whoever follows, will be able to say this is what needs to be done and just ensure that it's completed. So we have some short-term solutions in the Ministry of Works that we should see within the next few months. And then we have some long-term solutions that might take a little longer. For example, in Pinewood, the proposal is to create drainage system that drains into the canals. So that would be a long-term, longer solution that we've budgeted for with IDB funding. But that would be longer term, more expensive. But we also have short-term solutions to provide.
And this is what you will share on Friday evening.
On Friday evening, you'll see the long-term solution. You'll see the drainage system, which canals the drainage system would implicate, the homes that would be affected, the roads that would have to be dredged to create the system. So you'll see that master plan. But we also have a temporary plan that we're working on to show short-term relief to persons in those areas.
Before we wrap up, again, I hope that you all understood, and I know you've seen the work teams as well. While it slowed traffic, it was for good reason, because we saw the men working hard and digging new trenches and a whole lot, so we welcome all of that work. I'd like to shift gears, though, for a moment and talk about BPL. Thanks, Justin. Can you explain some of this right here, Minister, before I ask you this question? What you see on the screen? This is today, right? This is a part of that pumping out. Is that what that is? Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I see some of that. So so some areas, of course, that need that has excessive flooding, of course, would have to be mitigated and finalized if there are areas where the water has reached a certain level. But for the most part, most of New Providence has been draining correctly, and I think that you should see solutions probably tomorrow or the next day in regards to that.
Well, that's really good. That's good. Quickly, though, before we wrap up this segment, I want to ask you about Eleuthera and BPL, because I'll tell you, I'm in several groups.
I'm in them too.
Oh, you in those groups?
I am in them groups too.
So you see the people in them rowing?
I see them.
You actually, and you don't say nothing? You don't be tempted to say something?
No.
Listen, sometimes I want to be like, oh gosh, first of all, I feel sorry for you all and what's happening. Okay, you know what's going on. I don't even have to ask this fully ask this question, but you know, for the people who are watching now in Eleuthera, and I hope you all could watch. Yeah.
I'm sure
the issues with BPL, and I understand that there are some, and it seems most of the island, if not all, experienced issues and continue to experience issues. I understand that there are generators on the ground to come online. Any updates there?
Right. So I asked Minister of Works. I don't have coverage of BPL, as was prior, but I have spoken to the Minister of Energy and BPL and the team leaders there. And I've also visited the site. So I don't just speak to the leaders, but I also visit places on the ground. I've spoken to Pedro Marcellus, who was in charge of that area in regards to BPL. And we visited the site. They have 2 generators that are roughly 1.8 megawatts in capacity. One of those should be in train now, and the other one should be in train shortly.
In train meaning
operational.
being brought. Okay.
Operational. And some of the areas are also transmission and distribution issues, right? Which occurred over the storm, and the people in Eleuthera did. But we have a couple of different things going on. So because of the amount of the economy has grown a lot. You have Cotton Bay on stream, you have Jacks Bay on stream, you have Disney on stream, you have Windermere Island on stream. So you have a lot of this development that is increasing capacity on the island. So besides transmission and distribution, you also have, because the economy is taking off, the capacity is also increasing.
The growth, the growth there has exceeded what BPL is able to provide and produce.
Which doesn't help to pacify the issues on the ground and what persons are experiencing in regards to power outages. But I've been assured by the team at BPL, the team on the ground, that these issues should be completed significantly in the next few months. You should see the generators operational. The transformers they have installed in areas such as Tarpon Bay. So that Tarpon Bay has a transformer to ensure that they have direct power supply from that transformer, as well as water and sewage, so that the water that goes off because of the power outage there will not be affected. So the investment is being put, and you know, this isn't new for Eleuthera, but it doesn't help to calm persons when they're out of electricity.
No, it's frustrating when they don't have water to bathe.
Yeah,
or
the water is
light to
because
see.
of electricity issues, and they have to run the generator and stuff like that.
So it's like a domino effect. Once the power is off, then all the other things happen.
But I have been reassured at the team of BPL that these issues and the complications will be streamlined as soon as possible to ensure that people of Central and South have reliable power. I think because of the increase in capacity that's needed to run the communities because of the economic impact, that is a part of it. But I've been assured that it will be significantly improved shortly.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. And of course, if you want to return to further discuss the flooding measures being put in place, not just here in New Providence, but other islands as well, and like Abaco, for example, and obviously to come and celebrate BPL's success in Eleuthera, you're certainly welcome to return, because I know those people are watching. I didn't know you were in those groups. So you sit there and get the blows.
I just Abaco too. You know, Abaco, Shanique, we've did significant drainage in Abaco. So the water subsided there as well. We did it in Grand Bahama. So a lot of these communities, we have put our money where our mouth is to ensure that, you know, not eradication of flooding, but remediation of flooding occurs as quick as possible.
Minister Clay Speeding, Minister of Works, thank you very much for being here this evening and speaking to a very important issue that impacts hundreds of thousands of people really here in New Providence as well as elsewhere, and that is the matter of flooding and of course the BPL issues in Eleuthera. Thank you very much for being here this evening.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. When we come back, we are going to shift gears tonight and we're going to focus on, this is October 1st. You all know in the Bahamas what that means? Well, it means many things, but one of them is the Pride Month. Well, that's a major issue for one local pastor in particular. We'll pick up that conversation after the break.
Cancer Treatment Centers of America is now City of Hope, creating one of the leading cancer care and research networks from coast to coast, providing more of what you need. More locations means more care closer to home. More specialists means more expertise. More research means more breakthroughs. More advancements means more treatment options. And more options means more hope. Call now to get more of the care you need.
Hey, it's Spa Week, we got what you need. Sit back, relax, and come in for a treat. We just wanna make you smile. We will go the extra mile at Baja Retreat Spa.
Come visit us at Baja Retreat Spa on East Bay Street. Contact us at 323-6711 or visit us online at www.bajaretreat.com.
Ever feel like you're missing your own life because you're constantly running off to the bathroom? Do bladder leaks or pelvic discomfort have you up at night and affect your confidence in everyday life? Those days are over. At Frequency Vitality Center, we offer a solution. Completely painless, fully clothed with no downtime. Perfect for men and women of any age, we help strengthen the pelvic floor muscles while you sit comfortably, improving bladder control, decreasing night waking, and much more. Strengthen your foundation and restore your confidence.
Welcome to Blissful Escapes, where luxury meets affordability. Whether you're seeking relief from aches and pains or simply looking to indulge in some well-deserved pampering, relax and detox in our infrared sauna. Enjoy a soothing Swedish massage or an invigorating exfoliating body scrub. We also provide advanced facial treatments using cutting-edge technology, including hydrofacial, microneedling, and microcurrent therapies, located at the shops of Cable Beach Plaza.
Crack the code and win $1 million. Crack the code and win $1 million.
7 numbers, $1 million. Every 3 days, a number is revealed. Act fast, your million is waiting.
Crack that code, win $1 million clear.
Crack the code before the last lock clicks shut. Get ready to join the winner's circle only at islandluck.com.
Crack the code and win $1 million.
Beyond the Headlines is now introducing powerful TV advertising opportunities made just for you. Choose our television ad package, 20 30-second ads for $2,000 or 20 60-second ads for $2,500 plus VAT. Prefer flexibility? Go a la carte. Just $150 for a 30-second ad or $200 for a 60-second ad. Step into the spotlight with our interview package. 1 15-minute interview for $500 or 4 for $15 per month. Or bring Beyond the Headlines directly to you with our live on location package, only $2,600 plus VAT. For more information, contact our sales agent at 242-466-6173.
This segment is brought to you by EV Motors Fleet Sales Division. For 2026 commercial vehicles, call 821-2403 today.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. It's good to have you continue to join us. We are going to shift gears now and get into this discussion. Well, this month is Pride Month here in the Bahamas. Last week, Christian Council President Bishop Delton Fernandez, during a news conference or an interview, said that the LGBTQ community has the right to have its march as part of the Pride Month observances. That is where the row began. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines, Pastors Patrice Smith and Carol Moss. Now, Pastor Moss, I'm going to jump straight to you because when I say that is where the row began, you took exception to what Bishop Fernandez had to say. You felt as though he basically endorsed the Pride March that is set for this month. And you went onto social media and expressed that, and that just opened a whole can of worms where you got into a heated exchange, I am told, with members of the LGBTQ community.
Yes. Bless you, Shanique and Prophetess. Well, I'm very disgusted. One, the stand of the Christian Council, Bishop Delton Fernandez. I feel as if we have to have the heart of God, and we say what God says. It doesn't matter whether you're an ex-giraffe, you're an ex-cat, you have to say what God says. And I do believe that silence gives consent, right? We know the laws of what God stands for. One of the things is God is against gay and homosexual relationships in the Bible. So how come you can stand and say that you back off and these people have rights? No, if God has an issue with it, and it's an issue with him. And so he needs to stand up as the leader of the Christian Council and speak against the march. Now, whatever facilities they want to have or whatever they want to have in their own private time has nothing to do with me. But when you're going to walk on the road and declare, and Shanique, this is my problem. Back in the day, there was a club called Endangered Species. That's the name of the club. Right? That means that they were endangered and they were afraid to come out. They were afraid to come out. And so they did things in clothes and they went to little bars and way out. Now, all of a sudden, there's a boldness that's coming. Why? Because we're no longer protecting the borders of our country. And the men, good men, remain silent. And so that's how come these different kind of groups, especially the LGBT community, can stand up and say, we're going to take the road. One time ago, these people would get killed. They would get hurt. Now, where is the boldness coming from? Where is this boldness coming from? Why? Because good men are silent. The Christian Council is silent.
But he wasn't silent. He said, listen, I see nothing wrong with what they're going to do or doing.
But silent in place of standing up against it. He knows in the Bible a man should not lay with a man and a woman should not lay with a woman. Then tell me, how come you still allowing this? And you're talking about LGBTQ rights? You have no rights. You have no rights in this country because this is a Christian nation based on what we serve here. So how come these people can come up and one time ago they was hiding underneath a rock? Now all of a sudden now you get the boldness and to come forward. Yeah. Because I really want to say what I want to say.
Well, what happened online? What happened? Because I understand from last week you reached out to me, yes, and a member of the LGBT community reached out to me to say, listen, Shanique, this is unacceptable. We don't like this. We want to come on, and so did you, to address this. What happened online that brought this all to like a boiling point?
Well, what brought what made me so angry was the fact that Bishop Delton and the Christian Council, when I saw a video with him on our news, and stating that he protests against the UB, because I was there, but refused to say we all have rights. Now, we all do have rights, but because we are priests, we speak against certain things that is not right by the Bible. And so my thing is, and so I began to say what I feel. And so the Pride Bahamas came under my post based on what I feel, and what I feel is what the scriptures say. This is not personal. This is not personal.
So you're saying the same way they have rights to march, to have a pride
we
month,
have rights.
You have rights to have your opinion.
No, this ain't our opinion.
And wait a minute, and an opinion based on scripture.
Right. So this is where the argument came from for the fact as if how can we defend? And as the Christian Council, we all have rights. But when a right violates God's laws, then as the church, we stand up and say, no, you cannot. And then the thing about it is that, well, we are activists and we are going to try to fight. No, you are trying to bring 2 men and 2 women on our streets. The Bible says, where the soles of your feet shall tread, the territory belongs to you. So now you want to come and take territory here and bring that foul spirit in this country. And we refuse to allow this to happen.
But Prophetess Patrice, the foul spirit is already here. What I'm
down
saying
the
is,
street.
what? Huh?
Not on the street.
Not-
You're in the no. We're going to go against that foul spirit on the streets of the Bahamas.
Prophet,
We're not being
Yeah.
easy like that.
I'm gonna concur with Pastor Carol for a little bit, and I don't wanna beat the dead horse, but I just want to say this. I took issue also with our Christian Council president, who I respect and I do admire, but at the same time I had to disagree with him. Because when he said that everybody has a right, yes, of course, that is indeed true. Everybody has a right. But at the same time, you have the right as the Christian Council president that's representing the church in the Bahamas. You also have the right to come against and to refute whatever it is the LGBTQ community is proposing or purporting or bringing to the public. And so therefore, I believe that Bishop Delta didn't think too clearly. I believe he misspoke. I believe that he didn't think it through. Now, this is my opinion. This is my opinion.
I think he was. But listen, Prophetess, 1 second.
Yes.
Let me. He was very clear. He said, listen, let the people do. They have every right like anybody else. This is me paraphrasing.
Yes, okay.
He said, let them do what they want to do.
Yeah.
What do you all think that okay does for this movement that you said should not be displayed publicly on the streets?
He is the president of the Christian Council. Now, if you're going to say that an individual or a group has rights and we also have the right to defend our beliefs, then why didn't you defend the belief on screen? Why didn't you defend it on air? Hence, this is where the problem developed, because it seemed as if he was in agreement with what is happening. And so that's why I said personally, I felt he probably didn't think it through, because you left us hanging. It was like a vague response. And that's what the church is saying. And that's why he's having a lot of flack, not just from the community, but he's having it from the church, which is even worse. Because if you are representing the church, you have to be clear about what you're saying. You have to use the Bible, which is the word of God. That is our preamble. You have to use the Bible as your reasoning for why you are objecting. And so you don't just say, I disagree or I object. So what are you saying? You say then, I disagree, I object because of this. So you present other information to stand against your claim. You don't just say, Bishop Delton, that they have rights and we have a right to speak. What do you mean by that? You are representing the Christian community in the country. And that's the reason why, again, I said, and I will reiterate, I believe that he didn't think through what he was about to say.
So you're trying to say the two things cannot coexist.
No.
He cannot say they have rights and also you have rights to speak. Because what changed? Wasn't it last year that you all went to the Christian council went to?
Yeah.
So what changed?
And I felt that he changed his talk, to be very honest with you. I felt that his talk switched. Because he was seemingly saying that, and I hope I'm not speaking too loud, he was seemingly saying that his objection was because it was at UB. Now, listen, Bishop Delton, let's not be disingenuous. Now, we know exactly why we went to UB. All right? We know exactly why we went there. We were there.
So he said that the objection was because it was at UB?
From what I understood. Now, he could correct me, but that is what I understood or surmised. And so we were there because we said we are coming against this demonic agenda. Now, I don't know what happened between last year and this year, or who he been talking to, or who did what. But I know one thing. If you are speaking for the Christian church, you must speak for the Christian church on the foundation of the word. What are you objecting to? Why are you objecting? What is God saying about this? And listen, let me say something. Yes, of course, everybody has rights to a certain degree. But at the same time, we must understand that the Constitution is actually what guards the boundaries of this country. And so anything that goes against the Constitution most certainly is a violation. Now the Constitution has a preamble, which means it's an opening statement. And the statement said, we shall be governed, I'm paraphrasing, by the rule of law. We shall be governed also by the principles of Scripture. That's the preamble. Mr. Pindling and the rest of them didn't just come up with that. God gave it to them, and you are well aware of that, Bishop Delton. And so therefore, I'm saying to myself, what does he mean? He left me thinking after he was finished, what is he talking about?
Right.
As a representative or representative, that's right.
Yes.
Somebody who represents the Christian. Man, listen, Bishop Delton, come on, man. Let me finish, please. No, let me just finish that point. Yes, sorry. I'm sorry. I was about to say, if he's going to speak.
Smith. Listen, you see, it's never enough time for you all because you just don't know how to rule.
I told you to give me a whole show.
I wanted to ask this.
Yes.
So he seemed to have switched because the LGBT community did not switch, did not change its position, anything.
No,
so
because
who do you blame?
He gave them rights.
This was not his conversation nor his talk last year.
Yeah.
His conversation has changed. And I'm not asking him, I'm telling him because I was there. And so therefore now, this is two kingdoms. These are two kingdoms now that's at war and will always be, because always has been, from the enemy was kicked out of heaven. Let's go back to this now. Even though you're saying that everybody has rights, and I'm sorry, Carol, let me just finish. Even though you're saying that everybody has rights, yes, but at the same time now, we got to ask ourselves, how far are we extending those rights? Even though, yes, you have rights, how far are we allowing those rights to go? Because even in democracy, everybody don't have total rights.
What is the church, Pastor? Before you speak, I just want to ask you so you can answer this and then talk.
Yeah.
What is the church most fearful of? Church meaning the group who opposed to what he said and the okay and the green light that he gave. What are you afraid of that will happen as a result of his openness and acceptance?
Well, one for me, I think he gave this movement strength. Because my thing is, because Natino came and shared a post and said, well, AKA, if the Christian Council they have a problem, then what is your problem?
Then why are you talking?
What you talking about? So, in other words, he has the governmental rights in this country to speak against certain things. Our problem is we have children here. We have certain things here, and when you walk along the street and you have two men that are going to kiss, you open so much demonic doors and gates to this country, and this is not something that we want to happen in our nation. And as the church, you can't sit down, Shanique, and allow this to happen. This bothers you,
absolutely.
Right? Then you get these boys, someone put wig on, they man. How can a man? You are not a woman. You are a man. Whether you is a young man, you is an old man, you is a middle man, you are a man. A man should not have on a dress. A man should not have on a wig, and a man should not have on makeup. You are a man. What are we giving our youth of this country to let them know that this is acceptable in our country? It's not. And Bishop Delta Fernando, we respect you, sir. Honestly, we respect your office, but you got to stand up, sir. You got to stand up.
Listen.
Pastor Patrice, in 10 seconds, speak to Bishop
Fernando. When the
Fernando.
righteous remain silent, the kingdom of darkness advances. And I'm just paraphrasing what the word said. And we as the church must speak from the foundation of the word. We got to understand that cultures clash in kingdoms. But we must understand more than anything else that cultures and laws determine the outcome of the society by morality. So what we don't want to do in this Bahamas is allow our children to think that it is okay for a man to be with another man or a woman to be with another woman. We don't want our society to feel and to think that way.
Because should parents step in then, remember when I had that don't indoctrinate the kids in their classrooms. So then should parents step in and say, listen, here, and teach their kids what the kids need to know.
Now that's not just on the parents.
Anyway,
start with
the church.
It starts with the church.
It starts with the church. It starts with the church.
It starts with the church, and the parents then come along.
Then the parents step in. Okay, well listen,
yes.
This discussion is just getting started. It's not
continue.
finished. Part 2, well, it's going to continue tonight.
Yes.
Don't go anywhere. Beyond the Headlines is back right after this.
Fly fishing for me is kind of a way of life. My father was one of the pioneers that started the fly fishing industry.
I grew up around the industry, but it was mostly spin fishing until the invention of the fly that changed the whole fly fishing industry as we know it today.
Well, fly fishing, in my opinion, is an art form that subscribes to artificially inducing a fish to take a lure.
It's fishing, but it's more like hunting than anything else.
So it is hunting, one aspect of it is, and the second of it is creating a lure that you are imitating that is of the environment.
You're actually stimulating the bite by them visually seeing the actual lure that you're sending to them.
Crazy Charlie is the fly that revolutionized, as we know, the saltwater fly fishing industry. It was invented by my father. He recalls seeing the bonefish chasing a little bait fish called a minnow. He took a couple chicken feathers and some bead eyes of a military tag, and that was the beginning of the advancement of saltwater fly fishing industry on the flats as we know it today. The importance of that fly allow you to be able to fish for bonefish in various depths of water.
Captain Rupert Lead, my dad, who's also a pioneer in the industry, his fly was called the gotcha fly, and it emulates two things: the minnows, which is a small bait fish, and also a shrimp pattern. See, there's so many legends that I'm now standing on. Percy Darville, Ivan Nemo, who would have passed, Raymond Mackey, you've got Sidney Nemore, Carl Moxie. These guys were filled with knowledge. They were self-imposed scientists. They saw these fish act in a certain way, and they know how to target them on specific tides. I feel extremely proud to carry the baton on, knowing that I can actually teach other youngsters how to carry the mantra, and they themselves can pass it on to other generations.
So you want a space. But not just any space. You need something with a little more potential. So how about 1,000 square feet of room to play with? Superb audio and video production capability, digital LED wall, full lighting grid, and about 124 seats to accommodate a full studio audience with so many other features. Make us your home for your next concert, conference, and so much more. Honestly, the possibilities are endless. Here at ILTV Studios, we'd love to bring your next event to life. So what do you say? Do you want our space?
Beyond the Headlines is now introducing powerful TV advertising opportunities made just for you. Choose our television ad package, 20 30-second ads for $2,000 or 20 60-second ads for $2,500 plus VAT. Prefer flexibility? Go a la carte. Just $150 for a 30-second ad or $200 for a 60-second ad. Step into the spotlight with our interview package. One 15-minute interview for $500 or 4 for $15 per month. Or bring Beyond the Headlines directly to you with our live on location package, only $2,600 plus VAT. For more information, contact our sales agent at 242-466-6173.
This segment is brought to you by EV Motors Fleet Sales Division. For 2026 commercial vehicles, call 821-2403 today.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. It's good to have you all tuned in. We're going to have the other side of this argument this evening. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines. Just going to jump right in to try retrieve the time. We have joining us Natino Thompson and McTeer Farrington, both of the LGBTQ community, who took exception last week to a lot of what was said by Pastor Carol on social media. Now, gentlemen, you all heard Pastor Carol a moment ago basically saying, listen, this is despicable. It's abomination. Y'all don't belong on the streets of New Providence or anywhere else in the Bahamas marching. And this is what she opposes to. She feels as though the president of the Christian Council gave the green light for this to happen. Your thoughts on what was said?
Well, thank you, Shanique. Well, firstly, she started off by talking about endangered species, and she went into the background of where the term endangered species came from. Now, I personally was not around when the club Endangered Species was out, but as you can see, based on the shares from Carol's post, Carol was a person who frequented endangered species who sat by the bar, and I heard that she led in the walking sessions. So it's very hypocritical for Carol to now change her life and then be so hateful and bitter to those that basically partaked in the same thing that she partaked in.
So Mactea, but you heard her saying that, listen, and I don't even know what endangered species is. I'm sure Natina will jump in with the rest of that. But what I'm saying is this. You heard her say, listen, what a person did before does not at all factor into what they believe now. What do you make of that? She is saying, listen.
Well, if that's the case, though, she should give grace to people if she been the endangered species. Like, see, this is the problem with Carol in particular. Carol has a lot to say, right? And my thing is, if you're a pastor, fine, right? You've switched your life. But the same grace that you had while you were in your sin, you should give to other people. And that's just my thing. My thing is, everybody ain't on the same run you on. We ain't at the same pathways. We ain't on the same path. We ain't at the same levels. So if you're a pastor, you should give grace.
So you're saying the love is missing out of trying to convict you and anybody else?
Bitter. Well, our rhetoric in itself is just bitter. Like, I want to understand, like, if we could actually have a conversation off air with Carol and say, like, who hurt you? Like, we have grief sessions that we offer on Monday. We have counseling that we offer Tuesdays and Thursdays. We can actually help her get the help that she needs so that she won't be as bitter as she is. My whole thing is, when we go through religion classes and stuff during school, we heard that our God is a God of love. You understand, and not of hate. There are many people in the LGBT community that actually have their personal relationship with God. And I heard that you're supposed to have a personal relationship with God. So my thing is, if God is a God of love, why is the person who is God speaking through, or supposedly speaking through, being Carol? Why is she so hateful? You know, the funny thing is, why I have respect for Patrice rather than I have respect for Carol is because Patrice's rhetoric was not hateful towards us. You understand? She came in here, when she came in here, she spoke. She said, hey, you know, this is my friend. You understand? It's not coming from a place of hate. It's coming more from a place of, okay, well, you know, it's gonna be time, like, come to church. But Carol is like, no, we don't want y'all in church. We don't want to see y'all at all. Like, come on.
But do you think Natino and Mactea, do you think that Pastor Carol has a point when she says, listen, this behavior, Pride Month, you've been having that, and you've been having your events, and that's fine. But now this public march that can turn any which way and go in any which direction is not something the Bahamas desires.
Where was Carol? No. Where was Carol when we did this last year? We marched. Like, where was Carol then?
I think she
But you know what? Where's Carol when we just had a deacon who was charged before the courts of rape? Because she's talking about the community and what the community is doing. But where was Carol? Why was Carol silent? Why is Carol always silent when something's happening in the church? The only time you ever see Carol making noise up on Beyond the Headlines is when it has something to do with the LGBT community. And that's why I said, she said it's not personal, but it comes from a place.
She speaks against the church.
What? Where?
She speaks
Where?
against pastors who are rogue.
Go on her Facebook because I don't see it. I don't see it. Personally, do you see it, Patricia? I don't see it.
I don't see it. I could be
no one sees it. So. Everybody knows that she is that angry woman that comes on Beyond the Headlines and talks about the case. That's it.
I don't see it. My whole thing is, again, I mean, so when Delton Fernandez spoke and he said those things, I thought that it was, in my mind, I'm like, okay, so we're getting somewhere now. We're understanding that.
So you all felt as though he was like, listen, guys, go ahead.
No,
go ahead. Do it.
What I got from that was he's beginning to understand that there are groups of people who can differ in opinion and they still have to have their rights. You cannot take away our rights just so that you could have rights. That's not how this, watch this. That's not even how a democracy works.
Carol spoke about laws, and Parliament has unanimously adopted human rights protocols which deny discrimination. As far back as 1988, amendments were made unanimously agreeing in Parliament on the act that speaks of sexual behavior. And my whole thing is she keeps talking about the Constitution. The Constitution is a government document. The Constitution is a government document, but you're talking about something that was just highlighted in the preamble and does not exist in the actual governing document that is the Constitution. So what is the argument about? And see, the funny thing is, I always heard that if you want to confuse someone, just tell them something rather than them doing the research. Carol is very much, you tell her something, she's going to run with it, rather than her doing the proper research, because even her rhetoric on pride, what she posts on her Facebook has nothing to do with what we do here.
What is Pride in the Bahamas?
Pride in the Bahamas is where we educate and sensitize our community and its allies. We also offer assistance in terms of making sure that our members getting tested, making sure that they are on PrEP. Because, I mean, you know, you don't want HIV to be spreading, you don't want, so that's what we're here for. Pride is just a place for people to learn about themselves, get help. We have people that probably get kicked out and stuff like that. We help with housing. We have situations
So
where...
it's not what you would see in New York and LA.
No. We're not even there yet. We can't get there.
She don't want you getting there.
But that's not really our plan. That's never the plan. The plan was never to be what it was. You have to understand this. We have a different culture. Altogether, we have a different culture. And believe it or not, we actually take in consideration our culture. There are prides across the diaspora of the Caribbean. And as you can see, every pride in the Caribbean, Jamaica just had their pride. Yeah, Trinidad just had their pride before us. All of their prides come before us. We're normally the last pride in the Caribbean. And if you look at it, all of them take different molds or different shapes than our pride.
Yeah. And so the whole thing for us is education, sensitization. Number one, I mean, I've been on the show countless times, right? And I've talked about the erasure of LGBT plus people from Bahamian history. That erasure is happening in legislation, it's happening in policies, it's happening in the education system, it's happening all over. So we have to fill in the gap by educating our own people about what it means to be LGBT plus, what it means to have these feelings on the inside of them, before we can even get to the whole, for me in particular, Carol just trying to she's trying to scare people into salvation, and that's not how it works. You cannot scare anybody into salvation. And also, watch this, if it didn't work then, it ain't gonna work now. It ain't work for you because you was an endangered species. So obviously it ain't gonna work for us.
No, but obviously it should work
because
she changed.
No, because watch this, if she was really changed, anyway,
No. What I'm saying, what I mean is, how can, listen, McTeer said, there is
just because
room.
you're a pastor does not mean that you've resolved that psychologically, you know.
That's your mouth.
Oh, no. Also, hold up. That's not how it works. Watch this. Just because you're suppressing how you feel does not mean that you're no longer queer, baby. That's not how it works.
Santino?
And then
that's not how it works, Shanique.
This topic about, because we talked about this before on your show, this topic about what kids are exposed to, me going on the road, us walking on the road or doing whatever we decide to do, does not just, you have countless ways your children are being exposed to many things. Your children have devices from as young as 6 months or less. They are on devices. They're just swiping. You do not have parental controls on those devices. Most parents do not put parental controls on these devices. They don't know what their children are watching while they're sleeping. Nothing like that at all.
Before the last break, I said, parents, you will have to talk to your kids about understanding a whole lot, and don't leave it. Well, no, they actually corrected me. They said no, the church should lead that discussion, and parents should come up, bring up the.
But if you're being raped and molested in the church, then why is the church leading that discussion? My whole thing is when I left my mother's house, from as small as, let's say, going my first time going to school, Mommy said, oh, you have to remember the God cross. So she said, nobody should touch you here, nobody should touch you here, nobody should touch you front and back, right? This is discussion. These are how these discussions start. The church should not be telling my child, oh, nobody should touch you here, nobody should touch you there. They might be the ones that are touching you there.
It's the parent. The parent, I agree.
Regardless of who decides to do what, the simple fact is you cannot catch being gay. That's not how it works. Watch this. You feel the feelings, and then afterwards, you have to think about that. You have to think about what that means for you. That's just how it works. And so this whole idea of if children see you doing this, that's not how it works.
Where can the church, because McTeer, you said something important. You say, Pastor Carol needs to understand that she would win you more, if only just to come and talk together more with love than with this combativeness. How can that, do you see that happening? How can it happen?
Well, Shanique, I think that, despite our indifferences with Carol has a very good energy about herself. And I feel like if she puts that energy into maybe poverty and the economic inequality, violence and crime, youth empowerment and education, mental health and suicide, climate change and environmental stewardship, corruption, political accountability, unity and compassion, these are the things that she should be focusing on. Feed some people, do something. Like, that's where your energy should be. Preach about love. Preach about love. Preach about bringing people together. You will get more people. I always told you get more people with honey than with vinegar. And a fact is a fact. That's why they tell the young children that if somebody offer you candy when you're young, do not go to that car for that candy, because it's easy to catch you with sweets rather than vinegar.
Apparently, for me in particular, apparently now the church's mandate is to be against the LGBT plus community. I thought it was to feed the poor, because the poor will always be amongst you.
Listen to me. And so with the LGBT community.
I thought it was to say. I thought it was to save people from their sins, right?
Yeah.
Hold on, wait, hold on. No. Watch this. Now, y'all could see out there in Bahamas. I'm really glad that y'all are seeing me, right? Because I'm gonna let you know right now. LGBTQ plus people do not have to repent for anything, right? We are who we are, and like that's it. I don't think God makes mistakes. Now, if y'all watch it, if y'all want to congregate in your silos in the churches and huddle around and do that, and fight over what that means or what that doesn't mean, that's on y'all. I know where I'm at. I'm comfortable. I'm good. And in fact, watch this. I've been in the church. I see what y'all is do behind. Watch this. When the lights are off and y'all are out of the pulpit, I've seen what y'all do. And what y'all do is not what y'all say. So, I think y'all need to work on that before you come and watch this. Before you throw a rock over in this glass house. You got plenty of glasses over there that I can throw rocks into. Focus on what's going on in the church. Leave us alone. And watch this. We'll be Gucci.
Well, Carol, if Carol has a problem, she could actually, I don't know how to get to be the president of the Christian Council, but she could run or something and you guys can vote for her. I'm pretty sure she'll have Patrice's vote. But, she could run and they could vote for her and she could be president of the Christian Council and take whatever rhetoric that she wants to take on and fight whatever battles that she wants to fight. But I don't believe in going against my leader. I feel like the voice of the minority will be heard, but the voice of the majority will be carried out. And I feel like if she had an issue, instead of coming on a show and addressing an issue, she could have, had a conversation with him and find out exactly, instead of assuming where he's coming from. Just, pick his brain a bit and find out. And then if there's a problem from there, then you find other means to deal with your situation. Because she never said she had a conversation. She just said she came in.
Dalton said anything wrong.
She just threw a tantrum.
Of course you wouldn't.
She just threw a tantrum.
She feels as though this is her ministry to speak against LGBTQ
But it was
issues.
also her ministry when she decided to just go on a tangent and talk about Latino, because God told her to speak to Latino. But come on now.
See, my thing is, that's fan behavior. You have my name in your mouth, Carol. That's very fan behavior. My whole thing is, again, I just really think that the church needs to stick to whatever Jesus prescribed them to do. Right? Jesus spent most of his time amongst whom? The sinners. So watch this. Maybe she ain't gonna spend time amongst me, because me and Carol have nothing to talk about. I don't want to talk to her.
Latino, thanks.
I don't want to have nothing to talk about, because Carol just needs Jesus. That's what she needs. She needs Jesus.
Hush, you hush. Thank you.
And so, for me, I can tell you right now, when it comes to me, you will not oppress me. I am here. Y'all have to deal with it. Watch this. I love this place. I love my people. Y'all will do when you're ready, but just it is what it is. We are here. We're always gonna be here. That's all it is.
And the church is also here to stand against y'all. That's exactly what it is. She ain't stopping. She ain't stopping. Because watch tomorrow when her post with this. We're ready with y'all.
Carol, you post me, I will soon.
Listen,
I promise you post me, I will soon.
Latino Thompson, Matea Farrington. Gentlemen, I thank you both very much for being here. And as usual, we always have a very animated, interesting discussion. And you brought up some points, and I'll tell you, I wish both sides can come together truly and talk. Natina, you see, you ain't gonna be a part of it, you won't care, so that's fine.
There's no both sides, should be. It is what it is, but this is your show. We'll let you have that.
Hush your mouth, you hush.
We'll let you have that, Shani.
I thank you all so much for tuning in. At the top of tonight's show, of course, we had Works Minister Clay Sweeting. Thank him very much for talking about that flooding issue. Of course, in the middle section, we had Pastors Patrice Smith and Carol Moss here. And of course, to wrap up here, we have Latino Thompson and Matea Farrington. Gentlemen, I thank you both as well. And thank all of you for tuning in this evening. Certainly enjoyed having you along, and I look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow evening. For the entire Beyond the Headlines team, I'm Shanique Miller. Make it a great evening, everyone.